Good evening, family. Well, again, I will not say welcome to Long Beach because I don't want you to get used to it. We're only here for a few more days and we'll be back in paradise. So, man, there's a Kenyan American who is in deep trouble. And apparently, he has been living in the US for some time and then traveled to Kenya for whatever purpose and either fell in love with this young woman or maybe love fell on him and something happened, wakakekere, and then he brought the woman to the US, just like many Kenyans do. I believe they must have been together for about 4 years or so. And what has been reported, at least from his side of the story, is that this young woman withdrew over $65,000 from his account, cleaned him out. And right now, she's divorcing him.
Ms. Wanja Kachogu and Mr. Warner were married in 2018. Ms. Kachogu came from Kenya to be in America, and she transferred Mr. Warner some money when she got here. They lived together they were together for approximately 4 years. We intend to show that Mr. Warner is asking now Ms. Kachogu for $30,000 that he believes or alleges was taken by Ms. Kachogu. We intend to show that a piece of property was purchased in California during that time under his name alone. That Mr. Warner makes a tremendous amount of money. He has some of $50,000, $70,000, which are unaccounted for. There are transfers to family members, multiple ATM withdrawals, all that occurred during the suit.
As you know, there's always multiple angles to a single story. That is his side of the story. She's saying something very different. I've lived in the US for nearly 2 decades, and I've seen many, many examples of Africans or people from all kinds of backgrounds coming to Africa to marry Africans and then bring them back. And the majority of cases, it is often disaster. In fact, looking back, there's only 3 couples I know. I've been here for 20 years. Only 3 couples I know where the guys left the US, married the Africans, brought them to the US, and they're living really well, still going strong many, many years later. Only 3 couples. Every other example has always turned into something else. So I'm going to tell you more about this young man's story. It's actually still in court, I believe. I'm going to tell you more about their story, but I want to use this to explain to you what happens with these kinds of things. And by the way, just so you know, on the 29th, we are still getting together in Kisumu. We have an amazing gala. We'll get together with returnees who have already returned and those who will be returning sometime in the future. We'll just get together to connect, take pictures, music, network, and that'll be it for the evening. Dance away the evening. So yes, reach out. I think the flyer, I'm going to put the flyer maybe here. Again, for folks who are still asking questions around that, reach out and let's connect. So anyway, friends, sometimes these things don't work out. So let's talk about it. All right, well, I just got rudely interrupted, friends. Anyway, if you're new to my channel, I'm Warner Dede. I'm a Kenyan American who goes back and forth between Long Beach, California, which is where I am, and Kisumu, Karating in Western Kenya. I spent a lot of time back in Africa, and my new passions is to help people come back to Kenya and make a dignified life. So in doing so, I help people with finding land, buying property, finding architects, builders, interior designers, and things of that sort. So if you've got questions regarding any of those things, again, my number is right here. Feel free to hit me. I'll be happy to help you connect with the people who obviously are much more skilled than I am. And besides that, if you enjoy our content, you gotta subscribe. All I'm asking is check. We've got millions of people who watch us. A lot of them don't even remember to check if they have subscribed. So if you're one of those guys, just check and subscribe. Keep us going. We gotta hit 100K by the end of the year, friends. So anyway, friends, I'll probably look for a link to this story somewhere if I can find it. But it was sent to me by one of my subscribers, and it's something that has been on my radar. I just haven't gotten to it in terms of talking about it. But the thing is, I don't want to scare you. from coming to Africa to get spouses. People do it all the time and it works out. I just need to be honest with you about the possibilities that could happen. So, on the one hand, they're just genuine folks who fall in love in Africa, come and make a life. I see lots of those. But then that is not the whole story. Sometimes things don't work out. So I'm going to give you a number of scenarios so you see more of a more complete picture of what it looks like. For one, I meet people here in America or in different parts of diaspora who specifically love African women or just black women in general. And I'm talking about men. So they travel to Africa looking forward to meeting spouses. And a lot of them end up being lucky. They find the right people and things happen, sparks fly, and then they find some place to live. In fact, a lot of them end up living with their spouses in Africa because some of them don't plan on leaving Africa. And so that group, in my view, is fine. Just genuine people who love black people or love Africans, and so they go there to make connections. That's fine. There's a second group of folks who, especially men, who come looking for African wives because in their minds they think our wives are more tame or more domesticated. And so they come over there, they get, of course, at that time, because of the power difference, they'll always find a woman who, of course, behaves in that sense as they think. So you get the quote-unquote domesticated sisters, and they are pretty much doing everything, worshipping you. Then you bring them to diaspora, and guess what happens? In almost every single case in that sense, things fall apart. And in many cases, actually, it's not even the woman's fault. And here's why I say so. The people who come to Africa looking for African women who they think are domesticated are people with significant problems. I may not break it down all of it in today's video, but I'll assure you, if you run into a man who goes to look for African women because they think African women are domesticated, those are people with problems. I've known some people in my life who go to Africa, find women, they bring it here, things fall apart, and they keep doing it. Like there's some guy, I will not mention his name, of course, has done it 5 times. He doesn't date women in the US. He goes home, gets a girl, processes paperwork for her, brings her, and then they barely last 2-3 years. That's all he's done ever since he's been here. And like I said, I'm only talking about my very small circle. I don't know what else happens in your world, so this may not apply to you. So one thing I've noted with these kinds of men is that, for one, they have a very strong desire to control women. And their image of a perfect life is one where a woman just lies on the floor and you walk all of them. So that is what is normal to them. So unfortunately, some of them end up really terrorizing women, and it becomes like a pattern where it's one after another. They do that, and they hardly ever stabilize. So those are some of the men that go home looking for African sisters, thinking that they are quote-unquote docile. And so if you run into a man, and I'm talking to women, if you run into a man who has that history of bringing women and then things falling apart, bringing women, that may be a red flag. I'm not saying it is. There's some people who are just unlucky. Like I know one person, I honestly believe this young man is just unlucky. He's had at least 2 experiences of getting sisters from Kenya. They come here, and then next thing you know, they simply make papers with him and they disappear. But he's like the sweetest guy you ever know. Although, sometimes whatever happens in people's homes, you may never know. But people who have trouble dating women in America, some of them may be different. Not all of them. Some of them may be different. Granted, many of us who were born and raised in the village have a very hard time dating America. Like I've told you in my past video, for me, girls in the Western world, especially those who are born and raised here, culturally, we're going to be different. And so I can't even tell when a girl is just happy with you or she likes you. I've been here for long, and I honestly can't even tell the difference. So culturally, there are just certain things that are very hard for us who come from the village. So it's slightly difficult for us to date girls who are born and raised here. So village people would be very open to going to get girls from the village and then bring them over here. In fact, some of the people we date here worry when we travel back to the village that we are going to find quote-unquote kienyeji, the docile ones, and drop them. So if you're thinking about going to Africa to date and all that, again, there's opportunities all over, but then there's things to worry about. So, like in the case of this young man, who of course went to Kenya, I think they did marry. They just had like what something visa, a visa that they give for people who are engaged, and then they come over here. They have like 90 days to get married, something of that sort. So he brought his girl, and clearly something went wrong. He lost a lot of money. So what's harder for me to understand is how she was able to withdraw thousands of dollars out of this account, never raising a red flag, and that money cannot be traced anywhere. Now, on the young woman's side, she's also talking about how she has suffered and endured intense abuse from this guy. And again, all of these are allegations that are being reported in a court of law. So who knows where the truth lies and who did what and all that. So on the one hand, you have a young woman who is claiming abuse and all that. On the other hand, you have this young man who brought a woman and feels taken advantage of because he brought her here, made papers for her. She cleaned her account allegedly. On the other hand, she is also alleging that this man has been incredibly abusive, so she couldn't wait to exit. These things are complicated. On the women's side, I don't know too many women that go to Africa to bring men here. I've only met maybe I would say 3 or 4. Most women don't do that. But one thing I'll tell you for sure, that in America, single, eligible, wonderful, beautiful, opugno, they are just unlimited. On the women's side, there are so many single, eligible. Pot, lelo. There are very many. On the men's side, it's not looking good. Like right now, if you ask me whether I have a single friend, maybe 1 or 2. Literally every person around my circle is married. To find single eligible men is not as easy. However, though, there are men that I know who are in their 50s towards 60s who are single. And of course, all of them have had a life. Many of them were married and things went apart, and now they're single. That group is there, and they're looking forward to dating and all that. The challenge, though, is that many of them, at least the ones I know, are specifically interested in women who plan to either move back to Africa or women who plan to stay in Africa. And so for women who are out there looking for men, the ones that are eligible, of course, are gray like me, but many of them are interested in women who are open to moving back to the village or at least staying in the village if they're women from the village. So these things are complicated. I'm not a marriage counselor. I know you will not listen to me, as always. You'll just do you, but which is fine. My job is simply to report to you what happens. But all I say is, if you're out there looking, there's many possibilities. You may be lucky and find the right people, because Kenya also has incredible young women who are well raised, who are just open to love and all that, like every other place. And I'm not saying Kenya is worse than any other place. In fact, if you look at the US, our divorce rate is so much higher than the divorce rate in Kenya. And I'm not saying that means Kenyan marriages are better. No. In Kenya, the pressure to stay married is through the roof. Yeah. If you're married and you want to divorce in Kenya, that's a big deal. Here in the US, you could, once you're done, you're like, let's sign paperwork and get this thing over and done with. In Kenya, it's a whole different story, because especially on the woman's side, a divorcee has a different status, can have a different status in some settings. For example, there are some church organizations where a divorced woman cannot do certain things, even though generally outside the religious circle, nobody really cares whether you're divorced, married, widowed, and all that. It's not as big of a deal. But there is pressure on women to stay married even when things are tough. And I'm not saying just tough, the regular tough of a marriage life. There are situations where women survive things they shouldn't be surviving. Anyway, friends, do you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.